history of Oba Adolo of the Great Benin Kingdom. Odi Noda was crowned Oba of Benin in 1848 with the title of Adolo. His brother Ogbewenkom was born in the morning and Odi Noba in the evening of the same day, but as Ogbewenkom's mother, Iori, concealed the birth of her son from the Oba for some days. Odi Nova's birth was reported first, and it was counted the eldest. When Iori was asked why she had acted so foolishly, she said that the people of Ogbe had advised her not to announce the birth of the child, as perhaps he might not live, as it was thought he had been born and had died in infancy several times before. His father therefore named him Ogbewenkom, meaning Ogbe has made fool of you. Ogbewenkom rebelled against his brother and went to live in his mother's town, Igwebe, in Isha, and from there did much to disturb the Oba's peace. The Amaho rebellion and similar risings in Isha was instigated by him, but they were suppressed in 1853 and 1854 by troops led by Ebohon of Ovia. The Oba, however, did not bear him any malice, and when on being told in 1880 of his death, someone spoke of him as his enemy, the Oba replied, "Do not say that Ogbewenkom was my enemy. He was no enemy to me at all, but was my real brother. We were born on the same day. If he is dead, it is an indication that my own death is also approaching." In 1888, Ezomo Osaro Giagbon, the successor of Uzama, invaded and captured Uhie, Uobe, Sobe, Umoru, and other towns, and brought many of their people captive to Benin. Ebohon was born and trained at Ova, a village in the Benin district. His extreme archery soon marked him out in the village, and subsequently he was placed in command of various royal troops by Oba Adolo. He won some splendid victories and was known as a famous general. He led the Benin army against Prince Ogbewenkom in Isha in 1853 to 1854 and successfully gained the victory. He was also dispatched to Uruekbe with an army to check Ogedegbe's prediction. To meet his shame, Ebohon posted himself to Orua, eagerly watching the opportunity to attack the invader. Firstly, he sent an imperative message through Otubu and orders to Ogedegbe to return home. Word from the Benin division, which he was aiming to invade. Otherwise, Benin would likely have been no struggle to check his depredation. This warning Ogedegbe obeyed and returned homeward after having seen Ebohon personally and shaking hands warmly with him for his surpassing courage. Ebohon then marched back to his camp in an exalted state of mind, which often attended the consciousness of one having performed a noble deed. Ebohon gained many splendid and formidable victories in the various campaigns which he undertook. Lately, he was hailed as a hero and satisfactorily rewarded by the Oba in token of his victories. Finally, Ebon was awarded the title of the Iyase of Udo, but the hero unfortunately died at Ikoka, where he made a head on his way to Udo to assume his new office. His remains were interred there and he was mourned by all. An Iroko tree miraculously sprang out at the side of his head at the spot on which he was buried. Soon after this, in 1879, Ilesha was taken by Ibadan troops under Ajayi Ogberiofor and Ogbedegbe had to take refuge at Dagbolu in Ekiti a few years later. The Ibadans ordered Babalola Ajayi Agbonriefon's son invaded Ekiti under the leadership of Ogedegbe and the Balogun Asha. The Ekitis resisted invaders for months, but becoming exhausted, they applied to Oba Adolo for help. Hundreds of soldiers were immediately sent, and the Ibadans were compelled to conclude peace with the Ekiti. In token of their gratitude to the Oba, the Ekiti sent valuable presents to him and continued to pay a yearly tribute. The Balogun Asha mentioned above was the son of Omemu, who led the armies of Benin against the Akures and Ekitis in the last reign. He succeeded his father in the command of the army and continues his victorious campaigns in those parts until his death in 1896. He was the maternal grandfather of Yesufu Eke. Ogagun was one of the most of Obegbon of Ugboko in Iyekorion, Benin division. He was strong, keen, and quite industrious. During the reign of Oba Osemede, Ogagun left Benin to the Ekiti hinterland for trade and was stationed at Igbara Oke, where he remained many years trading. He subsequently returned to Benin early in the reign of Oba Adolo, and the title Osasemonye was conferred on him by the Oba Adolo. He was an influential and famous magician of his day, honored, respected, and feared by the citizens through his great knowledge in magical arts. He married his eldest daughter, Arukun, a beautiful lady, to Crown Prince Idogbowa, who later became Oba Ovorame. Prince Idogbowa thereupon committed adultery with one of the youngest wives of his father-in-law, and the issue of this adulterous union was Agwabasimi, who was so named in parabolic term Ogagun for the horrible crime or offense committed by Crown Prince Idogbowa Ovorame, his son-in-law. It was this child, Agwabasimi, who through the will of God became Oba of Benin with the title Eweka II in 1914. It had grieved Ogagun so much that he also named his grandson Uswalele, born for Crown Prince Idogbowa Ovorame, by Arokun, his daughter, by another parabolic attribute, which means that what Crown Prince Idogbowa Ovorame did to him can never be obliterated in his memory. Both Crown Prince Idogbowa Ovorame and his father Oba Adolo greatly resented these odd parabolic names and therefore consciously began to trouble Ogagun in all ways possible. Whenever Crown Prince Idogbuwa of Orame got a slight fever, and especially Oba Adolo will resort to an oracle, and the predictions would be nothing else but against Ogagu, on the whole, especially when Crown Prince Idogbuwa lost one of the children. Consequently, Adolo went to Ogagu in parabolic language that he should sleep, that is, to murder, to commit suicide because he was endangering his son's life. But Ogagun sent a reply back to the Oba that he did not wish to sleep yet and could not be compelled to do it. Then began a series of horrible sacrifices undergone by Oba Adolo. During this occasion, both to preserve the life of his son and also to compel Ogagun to commit suicide. To these sacrifices, Ogagun proudly uttered the following contemptuous words: "Tell Adolo to send the necessary victims to me, direct, to be slaughtered and eaten, instead of sending them to squares and high places, because I am not a lower creature to eat sacrificial victims in the squares like dogs." But willingly or unwillingly, Ogagun was subsequently forced to commit suicide after a considerable time in 1882. A cornet and other bad signs appeared soon after his death, and were counted as a result of his power and skillful knowledge in the magical art. He was very rich and powerful. For this reason, soon after his accession to the throne, Ovorame was contemplating not accepting Agwabasimi as his heir, but the advice of Ogiebu, the Wangwe, and that of the unseen power prevailed. People used to be very frank in speaking to the Obas of Benin. For instance, on a rainy day in 1883, during one of the ceremonies at the palace, a man named Obakbolo Uzazakbo, or Owie Uzazakbo, boldly said to Oba Adolo, when he saw the chiefs kneeling before him in the rain, "Why is it that you, Odiova, the son of Ugiomo, sit magnificent on the throne and let your chiefs kneel in the rain as if they were your bought slaves? Are they not the same creations of God, born by women, as you are? Let them rise up and get out of the rain." When one of the kneeling chiefs tried to interrupt Uzazakbo, Adolo told him to be silent, saying that Uzazakbo had boldly expressed what the chiefs had been afraid to say. He ordered the chiefs to rise and get out of the rain. After thanking Uzazakbo for his plain speaking, he gave him a present of food and drink, sent him home. Adolo was a kind-hearted and prudent Oba, beloved and respected by his subjects for his just and wise rule. He was rich and industrious. He purchased many slaves and founded many towns and villages for them to dwell in. He encouraged commerce and established various markets, such as Ekeadolo, which bears his name. He was very generous and provided for the upkeep of the aged and helpless. He reigned 40 years and left 4 sons, Idogbuwa, Orehoro, Iduseri, and Iresi, and 4 daughters, Eyendia, Izegbuwa, Idefua, and Idehe.